Mr. Joe, good morning, man.
Hey, what's up? Good morning. Good morning.
Dude, Cat 4 coming along, and you're like, yeah, we
Cat
should do the
4.
show, man. That'll
Yeah.
be what else is going on, right?
I
Why?
mean, proper cup of Joe. No matter what it is, raining, tornadoes, hurricanes. Come on, we're always going to be here.
You're like the postal service, man.
I'm dedicated. I'm dedicated.
There's our Seinfeld reference for the day, man.
it's it's raining. I can't do this.
You can't do that. No
It's
rain.
the
That's
first
the
one. So yeah, it's fine here. It's dark, but we haven't really gotten too much yet. So, but everything seems is shut down,
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
day, and the airport is actually. So here's my one thing. The past few weeks you've asked me like, oh, are you doing anything this weekend? And I've gone, no, actually, it's going to be a pretty quiet weekend. And except this weekend, we had like 8 things that we were going to do this week.
Oh.
we had tickets to like this Edgar Allan Poe speakeasy experience where they tell like stories of Poe and stuff like
cool.
that.
Okay.
Cocktails and stuff. That was tonight. That was canceled.
Yeah.
And then I had my friend Jay from Boston.
He's been on the show, right?
He's been on the show, yeah, and he listens in and stuff. So he has his parents have a place in Dunedin close by.
Okay.
So what he comes down occasionally, and for months he had this thing that he had planned. It's a concert for this band called Lawrence that I don't really know, but he just loves. And he bought like VIP tickets. He had like a reserved like this VIP table of 10. He had friends coming down from Boston who were supposed to fly in tonight. And then we'd go to the show tomorrow. He had super VIP tickets, which were like you'd hang out with the band beforehand and you hear like a mini set. And then we had like reserved a boat on Saturday that we'd go out and like hang out in the boat and stuff. And all of that is canceled now.
Yeah.
So I'm not. I mean, it's. I just thought it was funny. Like I feel bad mostly just for Jay because he's been
right.
He planned this whole thing out. He spent a whole bunch of money, probably going to lose a bunch, and then this happened. So, but I mean, I'm not complaining. I mean, that's not the people are going to suffer a lot worse than I am.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
So I just thought it was funny.
No, it is. Is he still coming south, or is he pulled the plug on the whole thing?
No. He's actually. I convinced him. So they were supposed to fly down tonight. I convinced him to change the flight to Wednesday, and then Lawrence said we're canceling the show or we're postponing the show till Monday. And so he was like, I can't make it on Monday. So he canceled the whole thing. So
we should make a little reel of his whole story and we'll send it to these fine people in Lawrence and see maybe they can, maybe they do a little something for him.
Well, the good thing is he's gotten me into listening to Lawrence, which is like they're a pretty fun band to listen to.
All right, I'll check them out. Now that we've said their name 4 times, I guess that's the rule, right?
Right. Yeah, you got to check it out.
Yeah. You guys do any special prep or anything, or you just roll with it?
Yeah. I mean, it depends. Like sometimes, I mean, we don't like board up the windows or anything. We're inland, a good distance. So the winds that'll get to us, and it seems like it's going to be mostly wind. They're not going to be as strong. So we just pull stuff in from outside that could be, blown away or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really all we did.
To put a little context to inland in Florida is like you're still like within like 30 miles of a coast, though.
Yeah.
Probably less. Like, so I mean, it's still like that's another. Like, I'm not saying the news is blowing things out of proportion. These hurricanes are terrible, but like there is a skill in Florida to living with these hurricanes, and you get to where you're like, I remember for me, I was like, Cat 3 coming at me, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Anything less not coming straight at me, you're gonna roll with it, kind of thing. But I say that, and like I saw, so Pinellas County is south of you. For again, all the viewers to want to play geography here. Pinellas is south of you, but I saw some mandatory evacuations in Pinellas County. Is it just because of the horrible flooding that they're expecting, or what happened?
Yeah. So the I guess the word is there's this storm surge that is going to be huge for this particular one. It's going to be like 15 to 18 feet or something like that. Something ridiculous.
Ungodly. Yeah. I mean, and again, for people who don't know what we're talking that's water over your head that they're talking about coming in. That's an unbelievable amount of water, man.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, as far as fortunate as we are, like that storm surge, I mean, we're not in a flood zone ourselves, so it won't affect us. But and we're fortunate because the eye of the storm is going to the Great Bend, as they call it.
Well, it's Mexico Beach got hit 2018, just totally devastated, and that's pretty close to where it's heading. I hear that it's heading again.
Yeah, so it's the storm surge that people are evacuating, and you always have to. It's funny because the thing is, like, we've talked about this too. Like the news up north is like everybody is going to pass away from the storm.
Right, it's going to become Atlantis, and you're done.
I get calls. I get calls from my friends up north, and oh my gosh, you okay? And I'm like, yeah, it's okay. We've learned to live with it, and we're going to be okay, probably. But the thing is, everybody is really cautious, so everything just really shuts down.
Yeah,
it's like a snow day,
Yeah,
for you Minnesotans, you know what I mean?
That's right. Well, believe it or not, we had 0 snow days last year. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, not because we didn't have any snow, just because they don't care, man. They're like, deal with it, But like,
deal with it.
Yeah, but I mean, we have the infrastructure too. Like in North Carolina, when it snowed, you could get 4 inches of snow in 2 days of shutdown. Here, we could get 4 feet, and they're like, no, it'll be clear in an hour. They're going to school, man.
Yeah.
We have the stuff.
It's funny because I was always telling, like, whenever I got on the phone with Jay and he was like, hey, there's a hurricane coming. Are you okay? I've always been like, yeah, it's completely fine. Don't worry about it. We're fine. And then, so when I was like, hey, there's a storm coming last weekend, we should keep an eye on it. He was like, hey, isn't it fine? Isn't it always
just great?
And then everything shuts down for him and what he wanted to do. It was bad.
Yeah,
but anyway, so
fair play.
But we're doing okay, and actually, it hasn't really even gotten to us yet. Just some rains, and there's not going to be a lot of raining, I think, with this storm. It's just winds.
Yeah, it's fast moving. They say.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so. Yeah, and what tonight's party time, right? Tonight, probably literally, but that's another great pastime in Florida. But like tonight's the business time, right?
Well, the thing is, right, party time. Yes. Here's what I thought you were saying. There's this thing, a hurricane party.
Right.
So everything shuts down. Make sure you have all the booze that you want at your house, and then you can't really work. Nobody's really working, and it's funny. Like, I am working. Like, I will work today because I work remotely a lot. So unless I lose power, I'm going to be working today. The only thing that I'm not doing, is I was supposed to do like collections. Like, there are outstanding invoices that I need to collect from like clients and stuff. I'm not going to do that today. Like, today
it'd be a bad image. Yeah, you're evacuating. Good. I need you to pull over. Listen, here's how it's going to be, pal. We're gonna.
I know your house is completely flooded, but you owe us $400.
Yeah. Is the check in the mail? Because the last time it doesn't seem like it actually was.
Yeah, so I get a break from that today. But then here's the other thing. So you go out and there's a mad rush to get everything, to get like food and stuff in your house.
Right.
And for some reason, you what we do is we buy like all the food that's really bad for us, but we really love. And like everything goes out the window for some reason.
No health rules, no nothing.
No
Like
health
if you're gonna
rules.
die, you're going down in gluttony, right?
You can still be healthy during a hurricane, but we don't. We've gotten all of these different things that we just love to eat. We got a bunch of dips and things.
Yeah.
Like
Well, because staying healthy in a hurricane is just staying alive. Like if you live, you're healthy.
Yeah, the threshold goes down. The threshold for healthiness goes down for sure.
If I'm running from a lion, I'm not monitoring my heart rate. I'm just gonna live. I'll get back to checking the heart rate tomorrow. Let me just stay alive here.
So I am looking forward to all of the great food that we have in the house, that if the power goes out, we have to eat immediately because it can't stay in the refrigerator.
Oh wow. Do you guys do like any gambling, like wagers on when the power will go out, and like you do like a little square, like time squares of
so we're it's funny, we don't have like we have we're pretty good with our power, actually.
Okay,
we don't really lose power that much.
Yeah.
And I mean, it flickers when there's a storm sometimes, but it never stays off because I think we're on a grid with a local fire station.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like they get us right back on almost immediately. It's almost like a top priority. So we're pretty lucky in that sense too.
Well, Joe, I'm going to stop caring about you during the hurricane. I think you're fine. Yeah, you got your
totally
dips,
fine.
you got your fireman buddies. You're all set, man.
I mean, we'll see. Now I've said this, so probably going to be one of those times we've jinxed it now, you know.
I hope not. Well, like you say, I think you're, from a wind standpoint, I think you're fine. Hopefully that water leaves you alone. I know you're well inland, but you know, that's just.
Yeah. We have. I don't think there's going to be a lot of rain, so, and that's the only thing that would really flood our land here. So.
Okay.
We're good. Yeah.
All right. Well, best to all the Florida breeders. I actually talked to Casey Goff this morning, who he is in the Big Bend area. So,
oh man,
yeah, he took it on the teeth when Michael came in 2018. So, I hope everybody's doing all right. And having lived there, I know like different people have different resources through the hurricanes and not, and all of that. So, hope they're well. I know Jeremy Bod was doing some sandbagging and getting prepped for the storm surge down there in Pinellas and all of that. So hope you guys are well. I feel pretty helpless. There's not much I could do up here, but I hope you're well.
It's strange. It's really strange. And you're right. You do adjust to it living here.
Yeah.
You know? And so you're kind of like, yeah, we do what we can. And you don't want your friends up north to really worry too much, but yeah, like things shut down and it's a strange experience to go through.
Yeah, it is. And I've been through a lot of them, man. Actually what brought my mother and her husband to Florida from Maine was Hurricane Andrew. After that hit, he was a general contractor and he said, "Hey, I'm off to Florida. I'm going to figure this out." And he took the van and a lot of cash and drove straight to Miami and started a whole new life there, man.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really kind of an adventurous, like almost Tom Sawyer-ish kind of thing. I mean, we lived in condos with no roofs, like under tarps and stuff. Like there were waves of people. So the initial people, they wanted out, so you could just buy like their destroyed property for dirt cheap because they would take the insurance money and go. And then the next wave of people were like the developers, and they're like, "Oh, we could fix this up, so you could flip property." I mean, we were selling and flipping property like just, I mean, almost literally before the ink had dried. Like we would have a future buyer lined up and a deal made with the original seller, and just keep the difference. Like we would just line them like by agent almost. It was Wild West, man. It was kind of crazy I was 13. By the time I was down there, I was 12 when that hit. But by the time that I could go down, my parents were divorced, so I didn't live with them. And by the time I went down to Miami, it was just total Wild West of economics, lots of bartering, crime through the roof, vice through the roof, just kind of really crazy time period after Hurricane Andrew, man.
Wow, that's amazing. It's amazing.
So I have to vent for my one thing this week, and see if I need to know if I'm out of line here, Joe.
Okay.
Because part of me feels like I'm the old guy yelling to get off my lawn, and another part of me feels like this is a massive pile of BS that somebody's trying to feed me, and I don't like to eat that stuff. So for the past 20 years or so, there's been this whole consumer social experiment that is now we've accepted and turned into a social contract, which is the idea that labor costs a lot of money. Not a whole lot of people want to do this work. And here come these self-checkout lines. So it's mutually beneficial. We don't have to worry about hiring those people. The customers can check out and they can go. And it's almost become this, like I say, this sort of accepted social contract where I'm going to go self-checkout. I don't have to ask anybody how their day is. They don't have to fake ask me. I don't have to in my mind be like, well, everything's going to hell, but you tell the people that doing pretty good, and they scan your baguette or whatever and out you go. And so I'm at Target, which I generally like, good Minnesotan company. I go to Target and I go to the self-checkout because there's not a soul in sight because, prices are labor's high and good help's hard to find and blah, blah, blah. And I'm checking out and I can't go anywhere because I'm checking out and I got to pay because if I do go somewhere, I'm stealing. So, you got to finish the transaction. Here comes a Target employee. Now, I'm not mad at the employee. This is just what they were being told to do. Here comes a Target employee. So they clearly have the money to hire somebody. Good help was findable. Do they wish to help me? Absolutely not. Are they going to scan and bag anything, doing anything productive? Absolutely not. They sit there and they start on a sales pitch for the Target credit card while I'm scanning my crap that they've told me is impossible for them to do efficiently anymore, and they're going to save me money. And now when I can't go anywhere, they've already taken my money. I'm already giving them my money. They subject me to a sales pitch in this damn checkout line. And by and large, I'm fine with them. I know that some people don't like it. Creative Reptiles doesn't care for them. I like the self-checkout. I like the peace of being left the hell alone to scan my little 4 items that I'm not going to steal. I'm not your guy. No problem. Let me just swipe them, pay them, on our way. Beautiful. Man, they got solicitors that I can't get away from. That very big problem in my book. That is some hypocrisy at the highest level, in my opinion, man. Highly disappointed.
So, okay, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You in your, is it because it's Target? Okay. You in your small business, right? You're trying to look for ways to sell the next thing, have customers come back to you, which is all a part of what Target is trying to do. So they're trying to think, okay, well, they're in the self-checkout line. They're there for a few minutes. Why don't we have people go talk to them? No,
because the whole pitch of the self-checkout line was that we don't have people. It's a lie. It's nonsense. And and I try and put myself in my customer's shoes. Like, I would never treat my customers that way. Why would anybody? That's the time to thank me for keeping their business afloat, for the gracious thank you. Come back. How can we serve you better? Not, hey, thanks. We see you like us. How about we hook you into some high interest predatory credit stuff? This will be fun. Adam, jump on board.
So what was the conversation like? How did you respond to him?
I responded no. And then I stonewalled her. She said, "Do you have a? Are you? Do you have you heard about the Target credit card?" I said, "No," and she started going, and I just scanned and I paid, and she just kept going. She was like, "Well, the holidays right around the corner. You get some really good sale." Now I'm doing. Now they have me pitching their card, as I did nothing. I was very quiet, and I was very polite in my quietness, but I guess stonewalling somebody isn't particularly polite.
Well, I mean, you're not interested. Stop talking. I
Yeah,
don't know. That's what's bothersome to me. It's like,
yeah.
hey, you can't read the room here.
Right. Well, and it's not, like I say, it's not that associate's fault. That I don't know. That's just the job they were asked to do that day. They're probably working hard to try and put a roof over their head. That's cool. I got no problem with that.
Yeah.
The upper management though, yeah, I got a problem.
Well, anyway, I mean, that's why it's Target. Any way that they can figure out how to grow their business, they're going to do it, I guess, right? No?
Yeah. I don't know. I like the I forget who I was talking to. Maybe Charlie at Reagan Renee. With cameras, you could see obviously no secret. You could see the flow of people, and you could always try and predict the flow of people. But what they actually do is up to them. And so, actually tracking the flow of people, you could strategically put things where more people are going to see it. And I'm the kind of guy, I don't care how much you tell me about a credit card. I'm not signing up for another credit card. I don't care. You could tell me it's negative interest rate and I get 15% off everything. I'm still not going to do it because I just don't. That's just how I am about credit.
Yeah.
But some people will. So why don't you analyze the flow of where we're going to see and be most likely to purchase and blah, blah, blah. They do it all the time. They put the Snickers in the right place. They don't put the Snickers in the middle of the store. They put them where you're going to stand in front of them, right? So like, there's ways. Anyway, it didn't feel good. I didn't like it. And I've come to enjoy my nice, quiet, no banter.
So that's what I think is funny because we're becoming more and more of a society that doesn't want to talk to each other.
Right. Except for you and me. We're leading the way, Joe.
I'm kind of like, yeah, it's not good, but I do really enjoy not having to talk to anybody. I'm in my own head. And when somebody tries to talk to me, it's a disruption of what's going on in my head.
Right. I'm figuring things out. I'm doing stuff here. Yeah. I'm wearing Chelsea, my flip-flops. Just let me be.
Like Chelsea gets so angry when there's not like an internet option to handle things, like buy things, or like whenever she has to call somebody, she's like, "Joe, can you just call for me?" And I'm like, I don't like talking to people either.
Right. I love talking with people, but I don't like the superficial nonsense.
Right. Yeah.
I would love to hang out in a neighborhood bar with a good bartender that I'm a regular and I get to know them, and we just, or the group of guys or women or whatever at the bar or whatever. I enjoy that, or the music scene, but just like random banter and look,
like transactional stuff. Like I want to take care of transactional stuff in the least interactive way or personally interactive way. Just make it transactional. I get this and I give you money. That's it.
Well, and here's I got to think of how to phrase this right. People that are really passionate and excited about what they do, like I want to hear what they do. Like I can be intrigued by almost anything. Hell, I was just intrigued by security camera flowcharts. Like that's neat to me.
Yeah.
That took somebody passionate and innovative and to figure it out. I realize anybody working is working probably because they have to. And if we're lucky enough to get to do what we're passionate about, then life is even better. I think most people running the cash registers are probably miserable. They don't want to talk about, they're not like, hey, let me tell you about this register. Like,
I don't know.
Like they got this new thing at this other grocery store. I got a whole, I guess we're just going to go down this rabbit hole. They got this other thing at this other grocery store. It's called Cub. I got a real problem with Cub, but Cub they have cashiers, but then they push your groceries to the end to this little like, and it splits into two. So there's like two holding troughs for your groceries, where then you will go bag your own groceries. Even if there's nobody in line behind you, they just stand there and look at you while you're going to bag your own groceries. And I'm like, don't do this halfway. Either get rid of this poor soul, get them out of here, and I'll handle it, or they're on the clock and you can afford them and they can help bag. Like,
now what's really weird is, and maybe this is different. Maybe the generation before us is different overall. I'm not sure. Maybe it's not a generational thing, but my mother seizes every opportunity to talk to people, to befriend people, to like she sees those moments as an opportunity to bring someone joy in their life.
And look, I definitely do. When I'm there, I don't go. I did go out of my way a little bit to be standoffish with the lady trying to sell me something. Like, anybody just trying to work and get by, like, absolutely. And like, I always took pride. Like, any kitchen I ever walk into, I always went to greet the dishwasher the first. Like, they're clearly important. They clearly have a place. They're generally not thanked. And I always wanted to make sure that I was thankful too.
Yeah.
And I wanted other people to make sure they saw that it was like a standard of expectation of respect for everybody. So that I definitely believe in. The structure, though, that some of these folks are put into, don't like it.
I mean, but being standoffish, that's the way that they're putting you in a position where you need to be standoffish because you're not interested at all.
Yeah.
So the salesperson is told, you got to keep going. I mean, and so you have to get to, as a customer, you got to get to a point where you're like, no, stop, please stop.
It's not for me. Yeah.
Now, what's interesting, I bring up my mom, and I want to say this too, because there's, and I don't know if this is proportional, because she sees every opportunity to go, oh, look I love your hair, or oh, your nails are done so nice, or whatever. Like this, like she's always trying to find an opportunity to make someone feel good, which is fantastic. I love it. It's so great. I love being around her when she does that kind of thing. Now, has it gotten to me? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. Now, but here's what happened. Here's something cool. She's not a well-traveled person. Like, she doesn't travel. Like, there's like this, the world around her immediately is so wonderful that she doesn't see the point in going different places outside of where she lives. And I don't know if so she doesn't travel a lot, but she did travel this past week. And
where did she actually
go? Well, she doesn't like flying. So they drove from Pennsylvania to Colorado. And then they drove to Wyoming, and then they drove to South Dakota, and then they went through Minnesota. And I was like, hey.
She didn't stop for coffee?
I know.
This is her thing, right?
I said, I didn't know you were going through like the Minneapolis area. Oh yeah, we went through the Minneapolis area, and then she went into Wisconsin, and then back down and through to Pennsylvania. I'm so like excited and happy that this is like the farthest that she's ever been away from the Northeast area. And cool. It just made me so happy. And she just loved it. She loved it so much.
Oh, cool. Good.
Yeah. So, so next time she does that trip, I'll tell her to stop in.
Coffee and a croissant right here. That's what we'll have, man. Yeah. My father is coming to visit for the very first time to Minnesota this week. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Matter of fact, next show that I do, he'll be in the house here with me.
Oh,
so,
nice. That's great. That's great.
He hasn't flown since 2001.
Wow. So
right? Yeah.
Because he doesn't like it because of this. Does it have anything to do with the attacks or no?
No. Just sort of like you're talking about with your mom. I think he's just happy where he's at. He didn't need to go anywhere. So why fly if you don't need to go anywhere?
It is funny that, like it's just so natural to you and me and to so many people that I know just to get on a flight and go somewhere.
Yeah, I was in San Antonio this weekend hanging out, man.
Yeah, how was that?
It was hot. Oh my God, it's still hot there, man. I know. Duh, Texas, I know, but it's bloody hot. Sorry, we're just sort of rambling this morning, folks, but we are going to get to our getting punched in the face in honor of Joe and Hurricane. How are they pronouncing that hurricane? Helene? Is this
Helene? Yeah,
Helene.
that's what I hear. Yeah.
Yeah, Helene. Okay. Have you ever been to I'm sure many other places are like this, but have you ever been to Cancun, where it's not really, I mean, it's Mexico, but it's not really Mexico. It's all just Americanized.
I've never been there, but I can imagine. Yeah.
It's like every spring break picture of America crammed into one little beach. So, I mean, there's Outback, there's the Fat Tuesday, there's Senor Frogs.
It's like when you
go Hard Rock.
When you go on a cruise and the port is just like, it's just like all.
It's American, just little, yeah. So I don't know enough about San Antonio to know this or not, but this little section of town was very clearly dedicated to just the conference target market. Just flying a few hundred people at a time with gobs of corporate money and then get them out. So the hotel was 30 floors high, which was kind of cool. And they did a nice job on it, and everything is equipped nicely with the audio and the video stuff. But then you walk out and it's like, there's no soul. There's no local anything. So, I mean, you're right back. There's Margaritaville, there's Ruth's Chris, there's, all these corporate, just geared at corporate spending card chains. And so the one of the sponsors that wanted to sell software, they bought out Margaritaville for the evening, and it was open bar and heavy hors d'oeuvres. And I'm like, all right, we'll go check it out. That's fun. And it's premixed margaritas and not chicken wings. Butler passed chicken wing. I'm like, you got all the money in the world. You're buying Margaritaville, and this is what they I don't know. Maybe there was different tiers that they didn't spring for or something. But anyway, so I'm trying to find the nitty gritty home style barbecue places. I'm trying to find the Tex-Mex. But I'm on foot. And the airport's only 8 minutes from this section of downtown. So I Ubered in. I didn't even have a car. And so I did some hiking on Sunday around downtown. I got over to the Alamo. I did get into, I got into a little, you could tell when the polish of the tourist area wears off, So I got into that part of town a little bit and I'm like, all right, now where's the barbecue, So found some really great brisket on Sunday. It was good. Couple beers, couple margaritas, walked back.
Nice.
I went to the Esquire. I found that place, which is great. That was a cool bar.
This is a nice place. I've said that I didn't make it there, but I went back to San Antonio and I went there. I thought that was a cool place.
Yeah. So it was nice. It was well done. It was just I love neighborhood bars. I love neighborhood music venues or dives or all of this, or just even a well done local or one off versus these massive chains. And it was just all cookie cutter, and then predictably not. The problem with those, in my opinion, from those the service standpoint of places like that, it almost feels like they know they'll never see you again because you're only in town for the conference. And so it's just a money grab. Honestly, the Ruth's Chris was not very good. That should have been the icon of the food that I ate for the weekend.
Yeah.
That's not good. So,
so San Antonio has a special place in my heart because that's where I met Chelsea.
Right.
We were both there
at a conference.
at a conference.
At a conference, there it is.
Different conferences, but we met at a bar, and it wasn't at a cookie cutter bar. It was the only bar that was showing hockey. And it was like, I think it was called Tickets or something like that. It was it was off the Riverwalk, whatever.
Yeah, which is kind of cool. I gotta say, I mean, at least they did put some effort into the whole like polished up tourist scene. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I mean the Riverwalk is cool, but yeah, it's the same. It's like Dick's Last Resort and Margaritaville and stuff like that, you know. So except the Esquire is right on the Riverwalk too. So, but the thing that I remember vividly about San Antonio was I happened to be there on Good Friday, and it was my last day there, and there was a like a passion play in the streets of San Antonio, which is so, and it was really
on Good Friday. That's right. Yeah.
Good Friday.
Was it really graphic?
Yes.
Oh, they did like the stoning and stuff?
Well, I mean, it was rough. I remember I was amazed by it at how, and like sitting in like I can't remember what, but it was right. It was a big procession. It was a long procession of carrying the crosses and everything. And then to see the remake or the reenactment of the crucifixion was so, yeah, it was really vivid and wild. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've never experienced anything like this or as intense religiously than this kind of thing. It was incredible.
That is Texas style there, man.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
I did have one interesting thing, and I got to make sure I phrase this right. I love how like every culture has like their own, like there's always the other, but then there's all like, and I'm not talking about like discriminatory stuff. Every culture has that too, but I'm saying from an interesting standpoint, like we have rivalries and fun things, and you know, I might be a Florida Gator and somebody else might be a Gamecock or whatever. And so the software company that I was there with, they're a Pakistani company, and I've dealt with them for 7 or 8 years now, and they're great. And one thing that I've learned along the way is some of the guys are named like Zishan and Fatah and Atta. And then there's Dean and there's Richard and there's John. And so like we're shooting pool one night, which by the way, they all grow up playing snooker. So when you play them on a 7-foot table, it's just target practice. You're just getting pummeled by these Pakistanis playing pool. Okay.
Okay.
And I just, we'd become friends, and I just asked, I said, so there's clearly like names that seem Americanized to me, and then there's names that aren't American. And I said, is there a cultural divide, or where's that at? And I said, well, those are the Christian names. And then, and I might have this wrong, but I think it's Muslim, but he says, these are the Muslim names. And I said, oh, well, that seemed okay. I guess I would have actually jumped to that conclusion had I thought about it, but I want to make sure I'm being cool. And he says, well, actually our whole country and government is divided by registering. You have to register your religion. And I was like, oh, that doesn't sound good. And they were like, totally like, they're like, no, it's just the way of life. I'm like, well, what happens with the difference? And he's like, well, if you're registered Christian, you can drink alcohol. If you're not, you can't. And I was like, really? He's like, and they pull out their IDs. He's like, yeah, look, I can drink alcohol. He can't. And the other guy's like, well, I don't want to drink alcohol. It doesn't matter. And he's like, yeah, well, I do. That's what we get. So anyway, at the conference, they're announcing that we've purchased Margaritaville and have a good time. And the guy on the microphone, he's like, oh yeah, the Catholics getting drunk tonight. Like it was like this like rivalry, like smack talk thing. It was just kind of cool that I caught it. And I was like, this is interesting too. So just different cultural quirks where you're like to me, I was like, I don't think we could say that. And I'm like, no, they're the ones in their culture. They could say whatever they want about their culture, So. It was kind of a fun, and I felt good. Like feeling like I understood the context. They had let me into that world a little bit because of the relationship I had built.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Whereas great. Other people might have been like, I think that guy just made fun of my religion, I mean, right. He sort of did, but actually he was one of the Catholics, actually. So anyway. All right, Joe.
As was evident later that evening.
Right, yeah, you could see who was partying at Margaritaville and who wasn't. So it was anyway. I like culture, and I love cultural quirks or having sort of a reset put on various expectations or beliefs or whatever.
Well, dude, we've really gone.
I know we've just gone off the rails. We're all caught up now. So I haven't broken this book out in a long time, but I love this book. If you guys haven't seen it before, it's called Show Your Work. It's by this guy, Austin Kleon. He's actually got 3 books in this series, and it's written almost like a grown-up's, like, not quite picture book, but it's a very easy read. You could read this cover to cover in, like, I don't know, hour maybe. But I go back to it constantly. I make notes. You can't see them, but I make notes on it constantly. And I just pulled out my mark of what I wanted to talk about today. That was smart of me. And part of why I like this is some of these books are like, they're not that insightful, although I think this one is, but they put everything in one convenient space that we need to hear sometimes. So like, it's not rocket science, but they're in these consumable snippets where we could just go, oh yeah, I needed to hear that today. Oh yeah, let me simplify some things. Oh yeah, if people are throwing punches at me, they're recognizing me. And guess what? Every successful person in the world has gone through that. And that's part of the ascension or whatever. And so this guy does this really, really well. And if you ever wonder, hey, Adam, where did you have any plan when you got started, or did you have a roadmap, or did you just wing it? This was the book. This was the Show Your Work. This is what I do. I was like, oh, I'm not an expert. I don't know this stuff, but I could just show them what I'm doing. And this guy pitches that basically, if you're honest with what you do, so many people are going to empathize with you that you're going to build a community and you're going to start to get this support around you. And you're going to have all these resources that come to you because you were not even vulnerable, just willing to show your work. And that's what this book is. So I really enjoyed it.
That is like a succinct explanation or description of you and Proper Royals. That's what I really think. That's a very, that's very close. That's interesting because so many people read books and they go, yeah, these are great ideas, and then they do something completely different. but which is most books, but this one stuck, and it's one of the very few on my bookshelf. I don't read that many books, and B, I don't keep them. I was trying to see, there's not even page numbers in here. I can't even tell you how. Oh, yes, there is. So it's 213 pages, but these pages are 6 inches by 6 inches. Like you just zip through it. It's written really well. It's kind of, it's pretty fun. And like I say, it's really down to earth, and he has fun things like this. This chapter is called Learn to Take a Punch. Very creatively titled chapter. And he starts with a quote by all people of Cyndi Lauper. It says, I ain't going to give up. Every time you think I'm in one place, I'm going to go show up someplace else. I come pre-hated. Take your best shot. And he's saying basically like, just get used to it. Like, and filter through what matters and filter through what doesn't. And it doesn't mean that you don't care. And it doesn't mean that you don't take feedback, but it means that you're almost like professional or seasoned enough to know that you're going to take some hits and lumps along the way. And once you get used to that, you can get on with your productive self of producing, succeeding, winning, moving forward, blah, 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 all those things. What's the what's a professional punch? Let's define our terms. What would he say? What would you say?
Oh, I mean, just go to the comment section of not this show, but Proper Royals Live, or you could go to the comment section of a lot of posts. And I'll be honest, like my world has really been fairly easy. Like it's been a supportive world. I have attracted, thankfully, people that I do like and that are supportive and constructive. But there are people that just light me up sometimes. There was a post on Instagram. This guy was just really convinced that I was just a horrific person towards animals and that there's no way that I should ever use the words animal lover and what I do. And the comments are still, I actually leave them. I at this point, I've decided that those sort of comments say more about the other person than me. So I do engage, like I engaged him. I said, well, I think if you're interested in seeking to understand, I'd love to have a conversation with you. I don't know that that's what you're interested in, but I am willing to. And of course it was just, just bash. And I responded, I said, look, I've been inspected and licensed in the state of Florida, consulted with the Department of Natural Resources in Minnesota, inspected and certified or licensed in Wisconsin. All of my animals are inspected twice a year when I vend at Tinley, Chicago, the largest show in the world. And I've never had one flag, never had one warning. I'm very transparent with what I do. And, he's just like, all of those people are corrupt and blah, blah, and I just said, I will leave this conversation and I don't think I can change your point of view. However, we both stated our case and I'm going to move on now. And that's what I do.
Okay. So a professional punch is something like that. Like somebody taking a swing at you.
Right.
That's not something that happens in your business that is a negative necessarily. It's somebody who's saying you're doing all the wrong things and you should stop doing it. You do it differently.
Yeah, this is sort of an active behavior from somebody else rather than a hurricane coming.
Right. Okay.
That is a type of punch, but that's different. I'm thinking in the context of people actively sort of coming at you kind of thing.
Yeah. And that kind of thing, like somebody that doesn't know you, that's easier to go, all right, well, I mean, I've said what I need to, and I explain it, but there are some people that just like throwing punches. And that guy
as
throwing punches.
Yeah, as a pastime, man. And
so what about somebody who's working closely with you and you have a relationship with, and they throw a punch? That's harder. That's more difficult.
Yeah, but like the essence of like a punch is something like underhanded and undermining.
Okay.
So like, say you and I had worked, there was a disagreement. I envision we might have a private conversation that's all out, but it wasn't to undermine what we're doing or what the other person's doing, or, so I don't generally see that as a punch. Now, there are times when relationships are just falling apart and the person's not who you thought they were, and that punch comes and you're like, well, I guess I have to move on from this. I have had that happen before too, where it's like, well, in retrospect, the other person probably thought I was the puncher rather than the punchee, but where it's like, okay, we're going to pull the plug on that. We're not together. We're not who we thought that we were
but that's not really what we're talking about.
That's not really. Yeah. This is, I'm talking like peanut gallery.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to say something, doesn't really know too much about you and just starts swinging. Yeah. That makes sense.
And I'll say that I got a brutal crash course over the course of 25 years in food and beverage at taking a punch. So I have some transferable skills here that maybe gave me a little head start in dealing with some of this. But generally, what's up, Chris? Generally I kind of ask or I have sort of some strategies on this that maybe is helpful, and maybe everybody deals with it in a different way. Some people might just, choose words that I generally don't say on the show and say those out loud to somebody else, and they move on. But
maybe people on this chat.
Yeah, maybe. That's right. That's right. But generally, I do actually try and engage every person that makes a comment from a professional standpoint. It's not Adam, it's the brand, it's Proper Royals. So I will try and engage somebody. And if they're just going and going and going, generally I go to absolutely quantifiable facts. Hey, I had an FWC license. I had governing bodies inspect me unannounced whenever they want, multiple times. You got to get off my back. You could prefer things to be different. You can not want to seek to understand why this is this way or why I do this way. Here's a picture of my facility with a shiny white floor. Like, it is nice and clean. Like, I'll do all of that and at least get that sort of on the docket, and then go, look, if you keep being abusive to me, then I have to, then I have to delete all of this stuff. But otherwise, if you don't have a conversation, you could stick around.
Which is an interesting approach. I don't know if I would have that approach if I was, as public as you are. And which is interesting because I'm on a podcast with you weekly. So there's two things. One is that you address it, and like, I would just ignore it. I would go, I don't know if this is even worth my time. But the cool thing about it is that if you want to take a public swing at me, I will defend myself also publicly, which probably, when somebody's actually reading through the comments, they go, there's a little bit of respect that's built there.
I see it as a platform. Well, yeah, and I see it as a platform to sort of state my case in a controlled way. Because the other thing I found is when somebody's like furious at you and they want you to be furious and you don't get furious, it's like even more infuriating to them. They're like, why aren't you getting mad without, it's like they like double down on their tantrum. And then, like,
well, that's like in personal relationships too. That's
I have a really, really bad habit of laughing at people when they're mad at me, because I just think it's like, oh, you're gonna yell now, and like, Kelly thinks I'm gonna get punched, but I haven't been punched in decades now. I have a very good track record of not getting punched. But yeah, when somebody's like furious at, like, I genuinely like just want to smile and be like, what are you so mad about? Like, what are you doing here? And that doesn't go over well. That doesn't work well. But no, I do see it. Like, you made an important point there, Joe. The third party that comes along and reads the comments, that's sort of like the impartial judge, I think it's blatantly obvious that they see, hey, here's this absolute jerk, and here's this guy that's responding in a professional way with his head up and confidence in what he's doing, to go, look, here's what I'll talk about. Here's not. Go on your day otherwise. And like, I think that brings value versus just blocking everybody. All right, you want to be crazy town, go be crazy town. But I mean, you can't. There's certain lines you can't cross. I have to block you at some point.
There's and that's the thing. Like, sometimes people do respond and do engage to those who are swinging at them, and the way in which they do it is off-putting. It's not good. Like, it's the same kind of vehemence, and that doesn't get anybody anywhere, right?
Yeah.
So it is really important how I think of social media, but I also think of like Google reviews. Like, sometimes you go through those Google reviews and some of them are just disgruntled customers, right?
Yeah.
So and maybe they did have a bad experience, and then sometimes the business responds in a way that I would go, I would never patronize this business now because of the way that you responded to this punch that was thrown.
Right. Because everything goes back to Seinfeld. Do you remember the Jerk Store episode?
Jerk Store. Yes.
Jerk Store.
Yes.
So keep me honest here, Joe, because I really empathize with this episode. I have a problem of going way off the deep end responding if I do it negatively. So like you say, I could make my brand look really bad in the natural response that I want to give. Like, I'm not interested in the banter and the fun back and forth. I'm interested in putting an end and burying this person.
Yeah.
which is not a good look for the company.
No,
so I don't want to do
no,
that.
not at all.
So there's this office, I don't know, loudmouth. I don't know if bully's the right word. He's giving George a hard time, and they kind of pick on George. And George thinks up this amazing line, and he says, yeah, well, the jerk store called, and they're out of you. And it falls flat. Nobody laughs. George thinks it's the greatest comeback ever. And so then the next time, and this is where I empathize. So George is now at the point where he's like, I'm going to win at all costs. And I got it. And the guy says something to him, and he goes basically, yeah, I slept with your wife last night or something like that. And everybody in the audience in the office is like, this is way too far. You're not playing the game right. Like, you can't be the guy that just goes straight to your wife's a prostitute. Like, you can't do that, right?
Well, and then the response was that his wife is actually in a coma at that.
Oh yeah, that's right. There you go. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, and so then, like, that would always be me. That would be me being like, I think you're the spawn of Satan and you're going to hell. And the person's like, well, actually, I've been in therapy for religious cult treatment for the past 8 years. I was just telling you. Yeah. And I'd be like, oh no, this is not good.
And that's really because, and you kind of touched upon it earlier. You want to stay with the observable facts. And that takes a beat. You have to take a beat, because if you're going to respond right away, emotions cause urgency. They go, whether it's either happy, sad, angry, they're gonna say, act now. Like, this is the urgent thing that you need to do.
I gotta respond right now. Yeah.
Actually, you gotta kind of go, okay, let the emotion feel it. This is what I think. Feel it, let yourself feel it, but don't act on that emotion right away. You've got to let it like subside a little bit, take a beat, and go, okay, what are the observable facts here? And then what story am I telling about the observable facts? And speak in terms of those observable facts and the interpretation of those facts as you see it, and then invite the other person to say, how do you see it then?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Where would you recommend different now that I've explained all of the credentials and everything that I have here?
And then you're going to see really where, if they're really serious, or whether they just love getting into fights.
Yeah. And that's where to go
fight.
Yeah. To go back to this like specific dude, he was like, oh, you could cite all these people that you're in cahoots with. I'm like, okay, so now we're, and then you can then you're just playing with them. You're like, look, dude, clearly the state of Florida, the state of Minnesota, the state of Wisconsin, certified USDA veterinarians, in multiple states, and myself are not in cahoots, as you put it, dude. Like, where is cahoots? I don't know, but we are not there.
And often people in this industry are critical of those bodies. There's a healthy tension.
Yeah, we're actively not in cahoots, and I still got their blessing for what I'm doing.
Right.
But, you kind of get to a point. Sorry, you kind of get to a point where, like, okay, I'm the grown up in the room, and I don't even have to say that anymore. Clearly, anybody reading this is going, well, at least this guy's got a level head. Maybe I agree with him, maybe I don't, but not gonna, he's not losing any points in my book, kind of deal.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, but that also takes some critical thinking on the viewer's part too. Like, I think it's a really dangerous game to engage. But I think you do it really well. That's
and there's kind of the
observable facts.
There's kind of a 3 response rule that I have. If this hasn't turned into a thoughtful conversation after 3, then it's hey, I see that we're going to disagree. I don't know that there's nothing beneficial going to come from this conversation, so I'm going to step away now. That's usually response number 3. If I'm still being met with, punches to the chin.
Yeah. And actually, you've said in the past that some of those people that you've engaged that have been critical with you have become some of your greatest allies, some of your greatest clients.
You can do that. Yeah, I do have this theory that and now they're the hardest to change, but the people that are there's like this spectrum of like interaction. So there's people that are active and against you. There's people that are against you, but they're inactive. They're just going on with their lives. There's people that are, what do you call it? Ambivalent. They're right in the middle. They don't care. They're going on. There's people that are with you, but they're not active. They're just, yeah, you're the good guy. Those are great people. And then there's people that are actively with you. And those are your evangelists. Those are the people. If you could convert the person on the farthest end that's actively against you, often they'll become the ones that are actively for you. Well, and I found that in the restaurant industry, like the people that were the most actively against or hated this, if I could turn around their experience, they have that natural inclination to be active at whatever they're doing. And
oh my gosh,
largely that's Google reviews. Yeah,
that's exactly it. I mean, but I think, balls and strikes is right, draw is right. I mean, there are people who are just, that get their kicks from fighting.
Yeah.
And they just want to engage to fight. And that's it. That's all. And so we said a couple of different things here. Number one is you don't have to ignore it. You can engage, but only engage if you can do it calmly, looking at the observable facts and unemotionally, really.
Yeah. Don't get into the emotional. Yeah.
And then your three person rule, or the 3 contact rule. If there's three and you see that the conversation is not changing after 3 responses, cut it loose because it's not worth the time.
I have like 3 really quick wrap up points too. I know we're going briefly into overtime. I actually have to get into the office too. The one little twist on this that we haven't touched on, Joe, is if all of my Instagram posts are truly advertisements and this is representing the brand here, one of the things that the algorithmic world enjoys is a little thing we call engagement. And it doesn't care if it's positive engagement or negative engagement. So if these people leave 3 comments and I respond 3 times in a professional, representative brand way, and it kicks up the algorithm to show this to more people, then it becomes an advertising angle and a representation angle too.
Yeah.
So you can think that way as well of, well, hey, I'm putting up with these people, but I am going to get some sort of long-term benefit out of this as well. In theory, I don't know if that works or not, but that is part of it as well. 2 really quick thoughts that I like on this topic that come from different authors, but it's still in a similar light to this guy. One says, ask yourself if you respect, if you respect the person that the criticism is coming from. If the answer is no, move on with your life. If the answer is yes, listen very closely, no matter how hard it hurts or how bad it hurts. That's it's a two-part thing. But I always find that sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes I feel like people are meddling in my my brand, and I have to stop and say to myself, well, do I respect this person's insight? Oh, then you better not care whether you like their input or not. You better listen to it. Now, it doesn't, you still got to consider it, but that first step. The last one that I love is, in life, be impossible to offend. If you could be impossible to offend, you can get on with a whole lot of stuff, and it's easier said than done. But there are many times that I just write it on a piece of paper and just be impossible to offend and go on.
Or you laugh. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. And that's true. Yeah. I naturally find a lot of those things funny, but then there are times when I'm like, it's getting under my skin, and then I'm like, dude, just go on. You have all this beautiful work around you to get to make you happy.
Do you have, last question. And we'll go. So you said you received these kinds of punches in the comments of your other podcast, Proper Royals Live. Why haven't we received any punches in the comments of our Proper Cup of Joe?
that was mostly me being largely facetious. No, the comments are generally very positive. In the in the regular YouTube videos, I'll get some crazy comments.
Okay.
The other piece of context is YouTube actually has a filter where they analyze sentiment of the comments. It can filter. They go out of their way to. What's amazing is all the crappy comments that are on the internet. Those made it, like, there were ones that didn't make it that actually got filtered out, so it has that as well. I don't know how effective or active the one from like Facebook Meta is on Instagram, but the one on YouTube actually keeps things fairly healthy for me. But if you want to throw some punches, throw them up there, folks.
Yeah, let's hear it. We can take it. That's what we've proven today.
That's right. All right, Joe, all seriousness, man, be safe in that mess.
Okay.
I hope everybody does some good and gives a little thanks that they don't have a hurricane barreling down on them if you don't. And those of you that do, man, just be safe. Like, man, anything you can do. I wish everybody the best.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great week. Stay safe, stay cool. We'll see you next week.
That's right. Bam.